The bank of God is infinite, and its treasures are without limit. Imagine for a moment standing before the vaults of heaven, doors so wide and radiant that no human mind can measure them, and inside, an abundance beyond all imagination. Every dream, every need, every longing, every blessing is stored there, waiting to be claimed by those who believe. Unlike earthly banks that count coins, calculate credit, and ration resources, this divine bank has no shortage. Its supply never diminishes. When you withdraw from it, you do not reduce it. When millions claim from it at once, it still overflows. The bank of God is infinite because God himself is infinite, and his goodness, his supply, and his generosity cannot be measured. When people look at life through the eyes of limitation, they believe that resources are scarce. They say there is not enough to go around, not enough money, not enough opportunity, not enough healing, not enough joy. But this is only an illusion of the material world. In truth, the unseen spiritual supply is so vast that it could never be exhausted. To believe in lack is to shut the vault door with your own hands. To believe in infinite supply is to open it wide and let blessings rush toward you. The bank of God is infinite, and those who understand this live with confidence, peace, and expectation, because they know their source is not of this earth but of heaven. Think about how earthly banks operate. They give according to what you deposit, according to credit, according to rules and regulations. If you ask beyond what you have, you are denied. If your record is poor, you are refused. But in the bank of God, your faith is the deposit. Your belief is the currency. Your trust is the signature. And as you affirm your divine inheritance, you find that the vaults open not according to your earthly worthiness, but according to the infinite generosity of your Creator. In this bank, there are no overdrafts, no denials, no insufficient funds. Whatever you dare to believe is yours is credited to your account. When you understand this truth, you stop approaching life as a beggar. You stop saying, "I don't deserve this," or "It's not possible for me." The bank of God does not operate by the rules of human merit. It operates by the law of faith. You are not a stranger to this divine treasury. You are an heir. The inheritance is already written in your name, and all you must do is claim it. Too often, people beg for blessings, thinking they must persuade God to release something reluctantly. But heaven does not release reluctantly. It pours generously. The supply has always been there, waiting for faith to make the claim. Consider your words as spiritual checks. Every word you speak draws upon your account in the bank of God. When you say, "I am poor, I am sick, I am unlucky, I cannot succeed," you write checks of limitation and they return void, for heaven cannot honor doubt. But when you say, "I am provided for, I am whole, I am abundant, I am successful, I am favored," you write checks of faith and they are instantly honored, for heaven always recognizes the currency of belief. Your words create the withdrawal slip, your faith signs it, and your gratitude delivers it to your life. The bank of God is infinite, so there is no need for fear. Fear of lack is the greatest robber of blessings, for it convinces you that the vault is empty when in truth it is overflowing. Fear says, "What if I ask too much? What if I am denied? What if it doesn't happen?" But faith answers, God's supply is endless. I cannot ask too much. I cannot be denied. It is already happening. Faith is not hoping someday, but knowing now. The infinite cannot run out, so there is no such thing as asking too much. Whatever you claim in faith is already accounted to you. And remember this, the bank of God is not limited to money. It holds riches in every form. Health is stored there for your body. Peace is stored there for your mind. Strength is stored there for your spirit. Joy is stored there for your heart. Opportunity is stored there for your purpose. Love is stored there for your relationships. Whatever you truly need, in whatever form, already exists in the infinite vaults of heaven. You do not need to create it. You only need to claim it. That is why the spiritual law says, "Believe that you have received it, and it shall be yours." Many live as though heaven is poor, as though God must ration his blessings, as though supply is reserved for a select few. They imagine that if someone else is blessed, there is less for them. But the bank of God is infinite, and infinite supply cannot be diminished. The blessing of one person is the promise of blessing for all, for the vaults never empty. If someone else receives wealth, rejoice, because it proves that wealth flows freely. If someone else receives healing, rejoice, because it proves that healing is available to all. The evidence of blessing is not proof of your exclusion, but proof of God's unlimited supply. Think of the sun shining in the sky. If one person stands in the sunlight, it does not deprive you of its warmth. The sun is vast enough to shine on all. Likewise, the infinite supply of heaven shines on everyone who steps into it by faith. But if you hide in the shadows of doubt, fear, or negativity, you cut yourself off from the light, even though the light is still shining. The bank of God is infinite, but you must walk up to the counter of faith and claim what is yours. The great key to accessing this infinite supply is gratitude. Gratitude seals the transaction. When you give thanks for blessings before you even see them, you demonstrate true faith. Gratitude is the language of abundance, and it multiplies everything it touches. If you are thankful for small blessings, they expand. If you are thankful for unseen blessings, they manifest. Every time you say, "Thank you, God, for my supply, for my health, for my peace, for my abundance," you are signing your withdrawal slip with joy, and heaven rushes to deliver what you affirmed. Gratitude transforms invisible supply into visible reality. The bank of God is infinite, but it does not force blessings on you. It waits for your claim. The vaults are open, but you must step forward. Faith is the act of stepping into that vault and taking hold of what is already yours. This is why doubt is so destructive. It is like standing outside the bank, holding a blank check, but never daring to sign it. Doubt waits. Doubt hesitates. Doubt asks, "What if it's not true?" But faith signs boldly, walks in confidently, and lives as though the account is already credited. And the one who lives in faith always receives, for the bank of God never denies a true claim. Understand this: you are not drawing from your personal store, you are drawing from the infinite. Too often, people limit themselves by saying, "I only have this much," or "I can only do this much," or "I am limited by what is around me." But when you draw from the bank of God, you are not drawing from your small storehouse. You are drawing from the inexhaustible supply of the universe. Stop calculating what you can do with your little. Start declaring what God can do with His infinite. What is impossible with man is always possible with God, for His vaults never run out. The bank of God is infinite, and it is personal. Do not think of it as distant, locked away in heaven, unreachable. It is as close as your faith. It is within you, for the kingdom of God is within you. The treasures of heaven are not across oceans or in some faraway place. They are in your heart, waiting to be unlocked by belief. Every time you affirm abundance, every time you trust supply, every time you give thanks, you are making a withdrawal from that infinite bank within you, and life responds to mirror what you believe. So let today be the day you stop living in lack. Let today be the day you refuse to say, "I can't afford it," "Who does not for me," or "I don't deserve it." Those are bankrupt checks, and they have no value in the spiritual economy. Instead, speak abundance, claim blessings, walk in confidence, and live as if already supplied. If you need healing, say, "I claim my healing from the infinite bank of God." If you need provision, say, "I claim my financial abundance from the infinite bank of God." If you need peace, say, "I claim my peace from the infinite bank of God." Say it, believe it, thank it, and live it. The bank of God is infinite, and you are a rightful heir to its blessings. Withdraw with joy, spend with gratitude, and live without fear. There is no shortage in heaven, no limitation in God, and no restriction on what faith can claim. Stand boldly as a child of abundance, and declare with conviction that the vaults of heaven are open to you now. The bank of God is infinite, and because of that truth, your blessings are without limit. Faith is the currency. When we step into the reality of God's unlimited supply, we must understand that it is faith, and only faith, that makes the exchange possible. Just as you cannot withdraw money from an earthly bank without presenting the proper currency or identification, you cannot draw blessings from the bank of God without presenting the currency of unwavering belief. Faith is the key that opens the door, the password that authorizes the transfer, the golden coin that heaven recognizes. Without it, the treasures remain locked, not because they are withheld, but because you have not chosen to claim them. Imagine walking into a grand bank, its halls lined with gold and its vaults overflowing with treasure. The manager looks at you with kindness and says, "Everything you see here is already yours. You need only present your faith to claim it." Some walk in timidly, afraid to ask for too much, believing that they do not deserve abundance. They approach with doubt, whispering, "Maybe just a little blessing will do." But faith does not whisper in timidity. Faith declares boldly, "I withdraw the fullness of my inheritance. I claim the riches of health, the wealth of opportunity, the prosperity of peace, and the abundance of joy, for it is mine already." A faith is not a vague hope or a trembling wish. It is a solid assurance, a knowing deep within the soul that what is unseen will surely come forth into the seen. When you write a check from your earthly bank, you do not wonder if the teller will honor it. You do not hesitate in fear that your account will fail you. You sign it, release it, and trust the system. So too must you operate in the bank of God. You write your request with the ink of faith, speak it with confidence, and trust that it is already done. That is the divine law. The moment you believe, the blessing is released. But here lies the challenge. So many cancel their blessings with the currency of doubt. They speak faith in one breath and fear in the next. They declare, "God is my source," yet turn around and say, "But what if it does not happen? What if I am left in lack?" Those words are bankrupt checks. They return void, because the bank of God only honors the pure currency of faith. A check half written is worthless, so too is faith that is divided. If you wish to claim heaven's riches, your faith must be whole, unwavering, and steadfast. You may say, "But I have so little faith." Let me tell you, faith, even as small as a mustard seed, is enough to move mountains. The value of the currency is not in its size but in its authenticity. A single coin of true faith is worth more than mountains of empty words. What matters is not how loud you declare, but how deeply you believe. If your belief is pure, the vaults of heaven swing open at once. Faith is the divine agreement between you and the bank of God. It says, I know that what I seek is already mine. It does not beg, it does not plead, it claims, it affirms. It walks as though the blessing has already been deposited. This is why gratitude is so powerful. For when you give thanks in advance, you demonstrate that your faith has already accepted the blessing as real. Gratitude is like the receipt of a divine transaction. It proves that the exchange has already taken place. Faith is the currency that transforms invisible supply into visible manifestation. Consider the seed planted in the soil. You do not see the tree immediately, yet you believe it will grow. You water it, nurture it, and wait in trust. Faith is no different. When you plant a request in the soil of the bank of God, you must trust that the harvest will come. Do not dig it up with worry. Do not uproot it with doubt. Leave it planted, water it with affirmations, shine gratitude upon it, and the tree of blessing will surely sprout. Some may say, but the world around me looks empty. The evidence is against me. I have no money, no opportunity, no open door. Beloved, faith is not limited by appearances. Faith does not depend on earthly evidence. Faith calls those things which are not as though they already are. Faith sees beyond the shadows into the light. The world says, I must see it to believe it. Faith says, I believe it, therefore I will see it. This is why faith is the true currency, because it draws from the invisible supply of heaven and brings it into tangible form on earth. Think of the stories of those who walked by faith. A person with nothing but a dream, yet they declared, I am prosperous, I am supplied, I am favored. Though their pockets were empty, their faith account was full. And soon, the outer world had no choice but to mirror the inner wealth. This is how the law of faith works. What you hold firm within must eventually appear without. The inner check must be honored by the outer world. Faith is the currency, but you must use it. Just as money hidden away in a drawer does no good, faith locked in silence serves no purpose. Speak your faith, act on your faith, live your faith. Every word of confidence, every step taken in trust, every declaration of abundance is like presenting a check at the window of heaven, and heaven never refuses. The supply is infinite, the account is eternal, and the balance never runs dry. Do not allow fear to counterfeit your currency. Fear is false faith, faith in lack, faith in failure, faith in darkness. If you spend fear, you will reap the fruit of fear. If you spend doubt, you will reap emptiness. But if you spend faith, you will reap abundance. The bank of God responds to the currency you bring. Bring faith and you leave with blessing. Bring fear and you leave with nothing. The choice is yours. Faith is the great equalizer. You may feel small in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of God, your faith makes you mighty. You may think you have no resources, no connections, no way forward, but faith levels every mountain, opens every door, and fills every account. Faith does not ask, how will it happen? Faith simply knows, it is done. The how belongs to God. The when belongs to divine timing. The what is already decided. Your only task is to believe and claim. Faith is the currency, and you are richer than you realize. Every time you speak in alignment with divine supply, you make a deposit. Every time you act in confidence, you make an investment. Every time you give thanks before seeing the result, you collect your interest. Your account is not measured by the world's standards. It is measured by the strength of your belief, and the stronger your faith, the larger your withdrawal. So today, I urge you, step boldly into the bank of God. Walk to the counter of divine supply and present your currency. Do not shrink back in fear. Do not hesitate as though you are unworthy. You are a child of the King. The inheritance is yours by right. Declare, I claim my blessing. I claim my abundance. I claim my health, my peace, my prosperity, my joy. Speak it, believe it, and live it. For faith is the currency, and the bank of God always honors faith. Let your heart be free of worry. Let your mind be free of doubt. Know with certainty that heaven's supply is unlimited, and your account is secure. There is no recession in the bank of God. There is no poverty in its vaults. There is no lack in its treasures. All is full, all is abundant, and all is waiting for you to claim it by faith. Remember, beloved, the divine law is simple: as you believe, so it is done unto you. Faith is the only proof required. Faith is the only currency accepted. Faith is the golden key that opens every door and releases every blessing. Hold it in your hands, spend it freely, and watch as your life overflows with the riches of heaven. So rise today with confidence. Speak as one who already possesses. Walk as one who is already supplied. Give thanks as one who has already received. Faith is the currency, and with it, you can never be poor. You are infinitely wealthy in the bank of God, and your blessings are ready, waiting, and yours now. When we speak of the bank of God, the greatest truth that must sink deep into your heart is that no favoritism exists within it. The divine supply is not reserved for a select few, nor does heaven's abundance flow only to those the world deems important, wealthy, or influential. The bank of God is open to all who will believe, and its treasures are equally accessible to anyone who approaches in faith. There are no hidden doors for some and locked gates for others. The laws of spirit are universal, and the flow of divine blessing does not discriminate. What God has prepared is not based on social standing, education, background, or earthly position. It is based only on your willingness to believe, to receive, and to trust. Many people spend their lives thinking that blessings belong only to others. They look at the wealthy, the powerful, or the successful, and say within themselves, "It must be easy for them, but not for me. Perhaps God has chosen them and forgotten me." Yet such thinking is false. It comes from a limited view of life and a misunderstanding of divine law. God does not play favorites, nor does heaven bless one and abandon another. What is true is that each of us is given the same key, the key of faith, and it is up to us to use it. The same sun shines on all, the same rain falls on all, and the same law of faith works for all. The difference lies not in God, but in our willingness to believe and act. When you walk into the bank of God, you do not see special counters for the rich and another line for the poor. You do not see one door open to a chosen few and another door shut to the rest. The vaults of heaven are wide open, and the supply is endless. There is no favoritism. What flows to one can flow to all. If someone has drawn great blessings, it is not because they were given more favor than you. It is because they dared to believe, to ask, and to claim. The law responds not to status but to faith. This should bring comfort and boldness to your soul, for it means you are never excluded. There is nothing in your past, nothing in your background, nothing in your circumstances that can disqualify you from divine supply. The bank of God does not run a credit check. It does not ask for your family name or measure your worth by worldly achievement. It does not look at where you were born or what you have done. The only question is, do you believe? Do you have the faith to claim what is already yours? If your answer is yes, then the riches of heaven are open to you. Think of how many times people have disqualified themselves by believing they are unworthy. They say, "I am not holy enough, I am not strong enough, I am not good enough." They look at their flaws and conclude that God's blessings cannot be for them. But this is like a man starving outside a banquet hall while the doors stand open, refusing to enter because he thinks the food is not meant for him. The truth is that the invitation has been given to all, and the table is set for anyone willing to sit and partake. You are not excluded. No favoritism exists in the kingdom of God. When you understand this truth, envy and comparison disappear. There is no need to resent another person's blessing, for what they received, you too can receive. There is no shortage. If someone else withdraws from the bank of God, it does not lessen your account. In fact, their testimony should be proof that the law works, that blessings are available, and that you can draw from the same limitless supply. Instead of saying, "Why them and not me?" you can say, "If them, then me also, for the same God who blessed them has blessings for me." The world of men operates on favoritism. Employers may prefer one candidate over another. Judges may lean toward one side. People may show partiality based on appearance, wealth, or influence. But heaven's system is not like the systems of men. The bank of God has no partiality. Its doors are open equally. The same principle of gravity pulls on all objects regardless of size, and in the same way, the principle of faith draws blessings to all regardless of who they are. The law is impartial. It works the same for all. This should stir a new confidence within you, for it means your dreams are not beyond reach. You need not wait for someone's permission to prosper. You need not hope to be chosen by human standards. You have already been chosen by divine inheritance. The only requirement is faith, and faith is not complicated. It is a childlike trust, a certainty that what God has promised is already supplied. When you live in this assurance, the treasures of heaven begin to manifest in your life. You must also guard against the lie that blessings are limited to a certain group, the spiritual elite, the religious leaders, or those who appear more devoted. Do not think that because someone prays longer, or fasts more often, or stands on a stage, that they have more access to God's supply than you. The bank of God is not impressed with performance. It honors faith. Your quiet, simple belief carries as much power as any outward act. When you claim with a sincere heart, the heavens hear and respond. Think of the widow who had nothing but a little oil in a jar. By faith she poured it out, and it multiplied. Think of the man at the pool who had no one to carry him into the water, yet by faith he rose and walked. Think of the hungry multitude that had only a few loaves and fishes, yet by faith they were fed until baskets overflowed. None of these were favored above you. They were ordinary people, but they believed, and because they believed, the supply flowed. The law worked for them as it will work for you. No favoritism exists also means that delays are not denials. Sometimes blessings take time to manifest, not because God is withholding them, but because the process of faith is aligning your mind, your words, and your actions. Do not think that because it has not yet appeared, it is not for you. The supply is already yours, you are simply walking into its full expression. The vault is open, and your withdrawal slip has been received. Hold firm in faith, and it must come forth. There are those who imagine that divine blessings are limited, that if one receives, another must lose. But the bank of God does not operate in scarcity. It is not like a well that can run dry or a bank that can collapse. It is an infinite ocean, and when one dips their cup, the ocean is not diminished. You can dip your cup, your vessel, your barrel, and still the supply remains endless. If all humanity drew from it at once, it would still overflow. No favoritism exists, for all are welcome to draw at the same time and in equal measure. If you have ever felt overlooked, forgotten, or passed by, let this truth comfort you: the bank of God never forgets an account. The blessings with your name are still waiting. They are not lost. They are not given to another. They are not cancelled. They are yours, held in trust until you believe enough to claim them. The universe does not forget. The law of faith does not lose its record. The moment you align your words and heart with belief, the release begins. Do not let the world deceive you into thinking you are at a disadvantage. Do not let comparison steal your confidence. What belongs to another does not reduce what belongs to you. What is theirs, and what is yours is abundant, overflowing, and waiting. The same God who poured out blessings yesterday is still pouring them out today. The same law that worked for them will work for you. So today, stand boldly at the counter of heaven's bank. Do not whisper your request in fear. Declare it with the confidence of an heir. Say within yourself, the supply is mine, not because I am special above others, but because no favoritism exists. What belongs to one belongs to all who believe. I believe, therefore I receive. Let this be the posture of your soul, the rhythm of your words, the certainty of your steps. And when the blessings flow, remember to rejoice without pride and to celebrate without fear. For what you have received is not proof that you are more favored than others, but proof that divine law is faithful. Share your testimony to inspire, not to boast. Live generously knowing the supply never runs out. Encourage others to claim their share, for the bank of God is limitless and no one is excluded. This truth that no favoritism exists levels the ground for all humanity. It tears down walls of doubt, it silences lies of unworthiness, and it opens the door of faith to all. You are as eligible as anyone else. You are as loved as anyone else. You are as worthy as anyone else. The supply is already prepared for you, waiting for your faith to claim it. So go forth with boldness, live with expectation. Speak with confidence, claim with joy. For in the bank of God, favoritism does not exist. Only faith matters, and faith is in your reach right now. Beloved, too many walk through life as beggars at the door of heaven, hoping, pleading, and crying out for blessings as though God were withholding something from them. They stretch out their hands as though the treasury of the Almighty were locked, as though divine abundance were guarded behind gates that only a few chosen could pass through. But this is not truth. The truth is simple: you were never meant to beg. You were meant to claim. What belongs to you by divine inheritance does not require you to crawl, plead, or bargain. It requires you to stand in faith and declare, "This is mine, for I am a child of God." When you beg, you declare lack. You announce that you are empty and powerless. Begging is the language of fear, the language of doubt, the language of separation. But when you claim, you declare truth. You affirm that you are connected to an infinite source. You step into your rightful position as heir to the riches of heaven. To claim is to believe, to affirm, to step forward with the authority that has been given to you since the beginning of time. Look at the child who enters the home of a loving parent. That child does not beg for bread, for warmth, or for shelter. The child does not doubt that provision will be made. The child claims it with confidence, because the parent's love is constant and unfailing. How much more does your heavenly Father desire to give you all things richly to enjoy? If the child of man has assurance, how much more should the child of God live in certainty? Yet so many forget this truth and instead live as spiritual beggars, believing they must plead endlessly for what has already been promised. The spiritual law is clear: as you believe, so it shall be done. Faith is not a timid request, it is a bold claim. When you stand in faith, you are not trying to convince God to release blessings, you are aligning yourself with blessings that have already been released. The vault of heaven was never locked, it is we who lock our minds with doubt and fear. When you claim, you unlock. When you affirm, you open. When you declare with unwavering faith, you draw forth the treasures that have always been yours. Claiming is not arrogance, nor is it presumption. It is simply acknowledging what is already written. It is signing your name to the divine promise that was written in eternal ink long before you ever took your first breath. Just as a rightful heir does not apologize when receiving an inheritance, you too must not hesitate when claiming the riches of God. The heir does not beg the executor of the will for scraps, the heir confidently receives what has been legally decreed. Likewise, the promises of heaven are your decree. They are not withheld, they await your claim. Do not mistake humility for begging. True humility is not self-denial, it is alignment with divine truth. When you claim your blessing, you are not elevating yourself above others. You are simply stepping into the design of your Creator. Begging suggests that you must persuade God to move on your behalf, but faith knows that God has already moved. Faith knows that provision is complete, abundance is prepared, and blessings are waiting for the hand of the believer to receive them. The beggar's prayer sounds like this: "O God, please, if you are willing, grant me this small request." The claimant's declaration sounds like this: "I know my supply is here, I know my healing is here, I know my opportunity is here, and I receive it now by faith." The beggar doubts, but the claimant knows. The beggar waits, but the claimant receives. The beggar fears rejection, but the claimant is certain of acceptance. When you beg, you place yourself in the position of an outsider, one who must wait at the threshold. But you are no outsider, you are an heir, a child, a co-creator with the divine. You have every right to step into the treasury of heaven with confidence, not as a beggar, but as a beloved child claiming what is rightfully yours. Think of the language you speak each day. When you say, "I hope something good happens," you are begging. When you say, "I know blessings are flowing to me now," you are claiming. When you say, "I will try to make ends meet," you are begging. When you say, "God is my endless source, and every need is supplied," you are claiming. Your words are the checks you write to the bank of God. If you write them with fear and doubt, they bounce back void. If you write them with faith and conviction, they are honored and cashed immediately in the currency of manifestation. Understand this truth deeply. Begging comes from the belief in separation. Claiming comes from the awareness of union. You cannot beg for what you already are. You cannot beg for what already flows within you. The seed of abundance, the seed of health, the seed of success is already planted in your spirit. To beg is to deny its presence. To claim is to water it, nurture it, and watch it grow into full harvest. There are people who pray for years with no change, not because God ignores them, but because their prayer is still the cry of a beggar. Their words come from a heart that doubts its worthiness. They say, "Lord, if only you would hear me. Lord, if only you would grant me mercy." But beloved, mercy was granted long ago. The ear of God has always been open. The storehouse has always been full. It is faith that draws forth the supply, not endless pleading. Faith is not repetition, faith is revelation. One declaration of true faith accomplishes more than 1,000 cries of doubt. Claiming requires boldness. It requires you to stand before circumstances that deny you and declare, "I already have it." It requires you to face lack and say, "I am supplied." It requires you to face sickness and say, "I am healed." It requires you to face closed doors and say, "The way is open." To the world, this may appear as foolishness, but in spiritual law it is power. For the unseen responds to your words, your belief, your certainty. The moment you claim, the unseen begins to arrange itself to match your declaration. Do not think for a moment that claiming is about selfishness. It is not about hoarding blessings for yourself. It is about stepping into the flow so that blessings can move through you, not just to you. A beggar holds tightly to crumbs, but a claimant receives loaves and shares freely. The one who claims in faith does not live in fear of running out, because they know the source is infinite. Claiming creates generosity, for the heart that knows abundance has no need to cling. You must also learn to claim with gratitude. Gratitude is the signature that validates your claim. When you thank God for blessings before they appear, you are saying, "I know it is already done." Gratitude turns your claim into reality. It transforms your declaration from mere words into living manifestation. A grateful heart does not waver. It knows the supply is already flowing, even if the eyes cannot yet see it. So let today be the day you stop begging. Stop praying with desperation as if heaven must be convinced. Stop waiting at the door with empty hands. Instead, rise in faith and claim your inheritance. Speak with authority. Declare with conviction. Affirm with joy. Say, "I claim my blessing, I claim my healing, I claim my abundance, I claim my peace, I claim my opportunity, I claim my divine inheritance now." And then walk as though it is already yours. Because it is. You do not wait for the check from your earthly bank to believe it is real. When it is written in your hand, you know it is valid. The promises of God are the same. They are written in your hand, in your heart, in your very being. All that is required is your claim. Claim it boldly. Claim it fearlessly. Claim it without apology. For the bank of God is unlimited, and your account is overflowing. You were never meant to beg, you were always meant to claim. Beloved, when we speak of the bank of God, we speak of an inexhaustible treasury, a storehouse that has no end, no lack, and no failure. It is a place of divine sufficiency where every need is already supplied before it even arises. And today, I want you to hold in your heart one powerful truth. There are no overdrafts in God's bank. On earth, men and women live bound by limitation. If they spend more than they possess, their accounts fall into debt. If they overdraw from a bank, they face penalties, rejection, and even financial ruin. But heaven's economy does not function in this way. In the divine order, there is no such thing as lack, no such thing as shortage, no such thing as overdrawing what has already been given to you. For in truth, the supply of God is unlimited, and it overflows into every area of your life if only you will believe. Consider for a moment how human beings think of wealth and provision. The mind is trained to calculate, to measure, to count, and to fear that one day the jar will be empty, the purse will be bare, the harvest will run dry. This fear of insufficiency has been passed down through generations. It is the shadow that lingers behind every paycheck, every bill, every financial decision. People fear that if they ask too much of life, they will be left with nothing. But beloved, in the bank of God, no matter how often you draw upon its riches, the balance remains infinite. No matter how great your request, the vault is deeper still. No matter how many times you say, I receive, the flow continues to pour without end. When you draw from heaven's bank, you do not diminish it. Your blessing does not reduce another's. Your healing does not prevent another's. Your prosperity does not hinder another's. For the supply of spirit is not divided like pieces of a pie. It is multiplied like seeds sown in fertile ground. Each blessing claimed by faith creates more space for blessings to be poured forth. You cannot overdraw from that which cannot be emptied. You cannot bankrupt that which is infinite. You cannot exhaust that which is eternal. So when you say, I claim my abundance now, understand that heaven does not check its records to see if you have earned enough credits. Heaven does not say, this one has asked too many times, we must deny them. No, the spiritual account is always full, always ready, always waiting for you to make your withdrawal by faith. Faith is the key, faith is the signature, faith is the authorization that unlocks what already belongs to you. Without faith, the riches remain untouched. With faith, the vault swings open wide. And when it opens, there are no overdrafts, no penalties, no debts, only grace upon grace and blessing upon blessing. Too many walk around with the belief that they are in debt to God, that they must suffer to pay off some spiritual balance, that they must remain poor to prove their humility, that they must endure lack to show their devotion. But this is the lie of limitation. The truth is that you are not a debtor to heaven, you are an heir. The inheritance is already written in your name. You cannot overdraw what is already given. You can only accept it or reject it. You can only claim it by faith or deny it through fear. Think of it this way. A child never questions whether the refrigerator in their home will have food. They open the door, take what they need, and eat with joy, trusting in the love of the parent who provides. That child does not worry that by drinking a glass of milk, the rest of the family will starve. They do not fear that the refrigerator will suddenly collapse into emptiness. They take what they need because they know they are loved, they know the provision has already been planned, and they know the source is not running dry. So too, you must come to the bank of God with childlike faith. Open the door of heaven's refrigerator, take what you need, and give thanks. For in this divine household, the shelves never grow bare. There are no overdrafts in God's bank because God's nature is abundance itself. The entire universe testifies to this truth. Look at the stars in the sky, can you count them? Look at the grains of sand upon the shore, can you measure them? Look at the drops of rain that fall in a storm, can you capture them? If creation itself is overflowing in infinite expression, how much more is the Creator's supply for your life? Scarcity is a human illusion, but abundance is divine reality. When you shift your vision from lack to supply, from fear to faith, from doubt to trust, you align yourself with the truth that there is no end to what God can and will do. But you may say, if this is true, why do I still experience lack? Why do I still face debts, struggles, and emptiness? The answer lies not in the source but in the receiver. If you hold a cup upside down under a waterfall, no water will enter. Not because the waterfall is insufficient, but because the vessel is not positioned to receive. In the same way, when the mind is filled with fear, worry, doubt, and negative words, it is like an upside-down cup under heaven's outpouring. The supply is rushing all around, but it cannot be held. Faith is the act of turning the cup upright, ready to receive. And gratitude is the act of drinking deeply from what has already been poured. Every time you declare, I do not have enough, you write a check of unbelief, and that check cannot be cashed. Every time you say, I am poor, I am sick, I am lacking, you endorse a lie that prevents heaven's riches from manifesting. But when you speak with faith, I am supplied, I am blessed, I am whole, I am abundant, you sign your name on a heavenly check that is honored instantly. It may take time in the physical for the deposit to appear, but in the spirit it is already done. There are no overdrafts in God's bank, because even your mistakes, your shortcomings, your failures cannot bankrupt divine mercy. You may stumble, you may make wrong turns, you may doubt, but the account remains full. Grace covers where you fall short. Mercy renews what you thought was lost. Every morning, the statement of your account reads the same: balance unlimited. So rise each day with the assurance that nothing you do can separate you from the supply of heaven. You cannot empty it. You cannot diminish it. You cannot erase it. All you can do is choose whether or not to claim it. Imagine for a moment walking into the grandest, most magnificent bank you have ever seen. The walls shine with light, the vault doors stand wide open, and piles of treasures beyond imagination stretch out before you. A kind and loving voice says, "All this is yours. Take what you need. There will always be more." Would you stand frozen at the door, doubting if it was real? Would you refuse to step forward, thinking you were unworthy? Or would you walk boldly, fill your arms with blessing, and rejoice in gratitude? Beloved, this is the invitation of the bank of God every single day. Do not linger at the doorway of doubt. Enter by faith and take hold of your inheritance. The reason there are no overdrafts in God's bank is because God does not give according to measure. God gives according to nature, and God's nature is infinite. If you ask for peace, the answer is more than peace. It is overflowing peace. If you ask for healing, the answer is more than healing. It is restoration, vitality, and wholeness. If you ask for provision, the answer is more than provision. It is abundance beyond what you thought possible. You cannot ask too much. You cannot dream too big. You cannot draw too often. The vault remains as full after you withdraw as it was before. That is the nature of infinity. It cannot be diminished. So live today with the confidence of one whose account is always in surplus. Speak as one who knows their balance is secure. Walk as one who knows their inheritance cannot be touched by thieves, moth, or rust. Give generously, for what you give cannot reduce your wealth in heaven, it only multiplies. Love freely, for love is the greatest treasure of all, and it flows endlessly. Dream boldly, for dreams drawn from heaven's vault are destined to manifest. And when you face challenges, when the world tries to convince you that you are bankrupt, remember this truth: there are no overdrafts in God's bank. Every prayer you lift, every affirmation you declare, every vision you hold is a spiritual withdrawal slip. Write it in faith, and watch as heaven honors it. Do not fear the size of your request. Do not compare it to the size of your current resources. For the check is not drawn against your earthly bank, but against the limitless treasury of the Most High. And when the divine signature is on it, it cannot be denied. Beloved, I say it again, there are no overdrafts in God's bank. There is only unlimited supply, ready to meet unlimited faith. The account is open, the vault is full, and the inheritance is yours. Step forward today and claim it, not timidly, not fearfully, but boldly and joyfully. For you are not a debtor, you are not a beggar, you are not a stranger at the counter. You are a beloved heir of the kingdom, and every blessing that heaven holds is already written in your name. Gratitude is the final seal upon every blessing you desire. It is the invisible signature that confirms to the divine bank of heaven that you are ready to receive, and that you recognize the source from which it flows. Faith is the key that opens the vault, yes, but gratitude is the hand that takes the treasure and secures it in your life. Without gratitude, you may ask, you may even believe, but the transaction remains incomplete. With gratitude, the request becomes reality, and the blessing takes root in your experience. Think of gratitude as the divine ink with which you sign your check of faith. When you step into the bank of God, your faith allows you to write boldly, "This is mine. I claim healing. I claim prosperity. I claim peace." But until you write your name with gratitude, the check is not complete. Gratitude is not merely a polite "thank you" whispered after receiving something. Gratitude is an attitude, a constant acknowledgement that what you have asked for is already given, already present, already manifest. It is the spiritual stamp that says, "It is done." Many people pray and believe but stop short of thanksgiving. They ask, they hope, they even affirm, but their hearts remain anxious, restless, uncertain. Gratitude removes the anxiety and replaces it with confidence. Gratitude says, "I trust that the supply has already been released. I do not wait to see it with my eyes before I give thanks. I give thanks now because in the unseen it is already mine." That is why true gratitude is so powerful. It recognizes the invisible delivery before it appears in visible form. Imagine walking into an earthly store. You pick up an item, you pay for it, and you thank the cashier. You don't stand there trembling, doubting whether you really own it now. You don't question whether the transaction was real. You don't beg the cashier to please let you keep what you just bought. You simply take it home because the transaction is complete. In the same way, when you make your withdrawal from the bank of God by faith, gratitude is your receipt. Gratitude is the acknowledgement that the transaction has cleared and the blessing is yours to carry home. Some say, "I will be grateful when I see the blessing in my hand." But that is not gratitude, that is proof-seeking. Gratitude is not after the fact, gratitude is the evidence of faith. Gratitude before manifestation is what draws manifestation into reality. It is like watering the seed after planting. Faith plants the seed in the soil of the Spirit, but gratitude waters it until the fruit appears. Without water, the seed cannot grow. Without gratitude, faith cannot fully blossom into tangible form. The great truth is this: when you give thanks before you see the blessing, you speed its arrival. Gratitude opens the door wider, it increases the flow, it multiplies the blessing. The thankful heart attracts more to be thankful for. The ungrateful heart, even if it has abundance, finds it slipping away. This is why some who seem to have little but live in gratitude grow richer every day, while others who seem to have much but complain and doubt end up empty-handed. Gratitude seals the transaction and ensures the blessing is not just received but retained. Gratitude also changes the receiver. When you practice it, you no longer wait for life to prove itself good. You declare it good in advance. You no longer see yourself as lacking, you see yourself as overflowing. Gratitude shifts your vibration, your energy, your words, your outlook. It tells the universe, I am in harmony with abundance. I am ready for more. And the universe always responds to harmony. Gratitude makes you magnetic. It draws opportunities, people, ideas, and resources to you, for it proves that you recognize the source and respect its flow. The ungrateful soul, however, lives in contradiction. They may ask, but they block themselves by doubt. They may believe for a moment, but they undo it by complaining. They wonder why their blessings seem delayed, not realizing they never sealed their requests with gratitude. They left the transaction incomplete. They wrote the check of faith but never signed it. Gratitude is the signature heaven looks for. Without it, the account remains untouched. With it, the vaults swing open wide. Every time you give thanks in advance, you are making a spiritual declaration. I already have it. This is not delusion, it is alignment with truth. For in the unseen realm, everything already exists. Healing already exists. Prosperity already exists. Joy already exists. Gratitude places you in the awareness that the unseen is more real than what your eyes can measure. You do not wait for physical evidence. You walk by faith, and gratitude is your steady companion on that walk. Think of a farmer who plants seeds. He waters them daily. He thanks the earth and the sun for what is coming. He does not dig up the soil every morning to see if the seed has sprouted yet. He trusts the process. He gives thanks while the field looks empty, because he knows the harvest is inevitable. Gratitude is like that. It is the daily watering of your field of blessings. The harvest may not appear instantly, but your gratitude keeps it alive, nourished, and growing until it fills your barns. Gratitude is also a shield against fear and doubt. When fear whispers, what if it does not come? Gratitude answers, it is already here. When doubt says, you are not worthy, gratitude responds, the gift is mine by divine right. Gratitude silences the inner critic and strengthens your faith. The thankful heart cannot dwell on lack, because gratitude always shifts the focus to what is already given and what is on the way. Each time you express gratitude, you are harmonizing with divine law. You are stepping into the flow of abundance rather than resisting it. You are saying, I am aligned with the giving nature of the Creator. I receive freely and give freely. Gratitude turns every blessing into multiplication. The thankful soul not only receives but becomes a channel for others, and as you pour out, more is poured back into you. Gratitude keeps the cycle alive. And remember this: gratitude is not just words spoken. It is a way of being. It is in the tone of your voice, the light in your eyes, the spirit in your actions. Gratitude is felt, not just said. You can repeat thank you 1,000 times and still feel empty, but when your heart truly swells with gratitude, even one whisper is enough to move mountains. Gratitude is sincerity, not repetition. It is the inward recognition that the bank of God is open to you and that your blessings are secure. Begin each day with gratitude, and you will find that the day unfolds in harmony. End each day with gratitude, and you will find your sleep sweet and your dreams rich. Let gratitude accompany every prayer, every affirmation, every desire. Seal every request with thanksgiving, not after you see it but before. Say, I thank you for the supply that is already mine. I thank you for the healing that is already complete. I thank you for the doors that are already open. Speak it with certainty, and watch how quickly your reality shifts. Those who live in gratitude never run dry. They may face trials, but their thanksgiving keeps the flow alive. They may encounter storms, but gratitude becomes their anchor. They may walk through valleys, but gratitude keeps their eyes on the mountaintop. Gratitude is not just the seal of blessings, it is the oil that keeps the lamp of faith burning. So, beloved, remember this truth: gratitude seals the transaction. Whatever you desire, whatever you ask for, whatever you believe, seal it now. Do not wait. Do not hesitate. Say, thank you, and mean it. Thank God as if the blessing were already in your hand, because in the Spirit it is. Thank Him for the bank that never closes, the vault that never empties, the supply that never ends. Gratitude confirms your faith, completes your request, and ushers your blessings from the unseen into the seen. Walk, therefore, in gratitude. Let it be your language, your song, your atmosphere. Withdraw boldly from the bank of God, and then give thanks as though the treasure were already in your pocket. In truth, it is. Gratitude seals the transaction, and once it is sealed, nothing and no one can stop the blessing from appearing in your life. Beloved, let me tell you something powerful today. Your words are not idle. Your words are not empty. Your words are not mere sounds that vanish into the air. Your words are checks, and each one you speak is drawn from the great and limitless bank of God. Every phrase you utter is an instruction written upon the canvas of your life, and the universe will always honor what you have signed with your tongue. When you say, I am blessed, you have written a check for blessing. When you declare, I live in abundance, you have issued a draft for prosperity. When you affirm, I am healed, you have deposited health into your spiritual account. Yet when you say, I can't, I'm broke, I'm unlucky, or I'll never succeed, those words too are checks. Bankrupt checks that return void in the form of limitation, debt, and struggle. Your words write your future as clearly as ink writes a signature. Think of it this way, every time you speak, you are signing your name upon a spiritual instrument. Some people walk through life issuing checks of despair. They say, I never get a break, and soon they see doors closing before them. They say, I'm always sick, and their bodies respond in weakness. They say, money never stays with me, and like water slipping through fingers, their finances scatter. Without realizing it, they are cashing the very checks they have written with their own mouths. But you, beloved, are called to something higher. The bank of God is unlimited. It has no ceiling, no shortage, no risk of collapse. You cannot bankrupt heaven. The only limitation is in the words you choose to write upon your life. That is why it is said, let the weak say, I am strong. It does not say, let the weak complain of weakness. It does not say, let the poor cry of poverty. No, it says, let the weak say, I am strong. Why? Because your words create strength. Your words draw from the vault of divine supply. Your words are checks waiting to be honored. Picture yourself standing before a counter in a bank. The clerk says, what would you like to withdraw today? If you hand over a check for 10, the bank gives you 10. If you hand over a check for 10,000, the bank gives you 10,000. The bank does not argue. It does not question your worthiness. It simply honors what has been written. In the same way, the spiritual law is impartial. It does not ask whether you deserve it. It only responds to what you declare. Write small checks with your words, and you will live small. Write bold, abundant checks with your words, and heaven will release them into your experience. Too many people sabotage their destiny with careless speech. They speak defeat and wonder why they are defeated. They declare lack and wonder why they are poor. They gossip about sickness and wonder why their bodies falter. They forget that every word is recorded, stamped, and processed by the great spiritual law. The bank of God never refuses to cash a check. It simply delivers what has been written. This is why you must guard your tongue as you would guard your treasure. For the tongue writes faster than any pen, and once a word has been spoken, it sets creation in motion. When you say, I am too old, you have written a check that limits you. When you say, I am too young, you have blocked your own potential. When you say, I will never be able to afford this, you have closed the vault upon your own request. And yet, with the same breath, you could just as easily have said, the bank of God is my source, and all I desire flows to me now. You could have said, I live in divine supply, and doors of opportunity open before me. You could have said, I am strong, I am whole, I am provided for in every way. What checks are you writing today? What deposits are you making with your words? Look at your life, and you will see the signatures of your past speech. If your life is filled with joy, it is because you have spoken joy. If your life is filled with peace, it is because you have affirmed peace. If your life is filled with struggle, it is because, knowingly or unknowingly, you have issued checks of struggle. The good news is this: at any moment you can change the account. At any moment you can begin writing new checks. At any moment, you can shift the flow of divine supply with a new declaration. Beloved, understand this truth: words are never neutral. Words carry creative power. Words plant seeds in the soil of your soul, and those seeds must grow. Speak faith and faith blooms. Speak doubt and doubt multiplies. Speak abundance and abundance rushes in. Speak fear and fear tightens its grip. The choice is yours every moment of every day. You are the signer of your destiny. This is why gratitude is so important. When you say, thank you, God, for my blessings, you are not only acknowledging what you already see, you are writing a check for future blessings as well. Gratitude is a powerful signature that authorizes even greater deposits. A grateful tongue writes checks that never fail. But an ungrateful tongue, one that complains and murmurs, writes checks that return with lack and sorrow. Imagine how different life would be if every word you spoke today was treated as a check that must be honored tomorrow. Would you still say, I'm broke? Would you still say, nothing ever works out for me? Would you still say, I'm unlucky in love? Or would you choose instead to say, I walk in abundance? Would you say, everything works together for my good? Would you say, Love surrounds me and flows freely into my life. Beloved, you are an heir of divine riches. The bank of God has already credited your account with everything you could ever need. Health is already yours. Prosperity is already yours. Peace is already yours. Joy is already yours. But heaven waits for your words to authorize the release. You must sign the check of faith with your tongue. Do not let fear be your accountant. Do not let doubt be your teller. Do not let despair hold your pen. Instead, let faith guide your words. Let confidence be your ink. Let gratitude be your seal. Every time you speak, picture yourself writing a check that will soon be cashed in your experience. Make it bold. Make it abundant. Make it worthy of the unlimited supply of heaven. If you want healing, stop talking about sickness and start declaring health. If you want wealth, stop rehearsing your debts and start proclaiming your prosperity. If you want love, stop speaking loneliness and start affirming companionship. If you want peace, stop repeating chaos and start affirming calm. Remember, the check you write with your words will always come back to you. Never forget the law: what you speak, you create. What you affirm, you authorize. What you declare, you draw. What you confess, you call forth. Words are checks. If you would not write a check for failure, do not speak words of failure. If you would not sign a check for poverty, do not speak words of lack. If you would not request sorrow from the bank, then do not speak it into your life. Speak life, speak joy, speak health, speak abundance, speak victory. Beloved, today is your chance to balance your account. Cancel every word of defeat with a word of faith. Cancel every word of lack with a word of abundance. Cancel every word of fear with a word of courage. Cancel every word of sorrow with a word of joy. Do not dwell on the negative checks you may have written in the past. Begin today. Start fresh. Begin writing new checks with your tongue. Checks that the bank of God will honor in overflowing measure. The great vaults of heaven stand open. The divine supply is limitless. The spiritual law is ready to move. The only question is, what will you write with your words? Will you issue checks of lack, or will you claim the wealth of heaven? Will you speak defeat, or will you declare victory? Will you say, I can't, or will you boldly proclaim, I can do all things through the power of God in me? Remember this: you are not a beggar. You are not a pauper. You are not a victim of fate. You are a divine heir, and your inheritance is without measure. The checks you write with your words are not hopes, they are not fantasies, they are not dreams. They are real, binding, spiritual instruments. And when you speak with faith, when you speak with conviction, when you speak with gratitude, the bank of God always honors them. So guard your words, speak boldly. Sign every declaration with faith, and walk forward knowing that every check of blessing you write today will surely be cashed in the days to come. Your life is your account, your words are your checks, and the bank of God is unlimited. Withdraw with joy, spend with gratitude, live in abundance. And never forget, every word you speak is a check, and every check will be honored. Beloved, I want you to understand something today that can change the course of your life forever. Your words are not empty, they are not idle, they are not without power. Every word you speak is a check that you write upon the bank of God. When you speak with faith, you sign a check that heaven will always honor. When you speak with doubt, you sign a check that returns void. Your words are the instruments by which you draw from the unlimited supply of the divine treasury. Think about it for a moment. When you walk into an earthly bank, you may write a check, and the bank honors it according to the balance that you hold in your account. But when you speak a word of faith, your check is drawn upon the bank of God, whose reserves are infinite and whose vaults are overflowing beyond human comprehension. This account never depletes, never declines, never closes, and never fails. The balance is eternal supply. The only requirement is your belief in the power of your own spoken word. You see, words are not casual. Every word sets in motion forces unseen, either calling forth abundance or summoning lack, either affirming life or releasing defeat. Each syllable you speak is a seed planted in the soil of the universe. The harvest that comes depends on the seed that was sown. When you declare, I am blessed, I am healed, I am supplied, you have written a spiritual check that will be honored in divine timing. When you say, I cannot, I lack, I am afraid, you are writing a bankrupt check that carries no value. Heaven cannot endorse fear, doubt, or negativity, for they do not exist in the divine treasury. Do not underestimate the power of your words. The tongue is the pen that writes the checks of your destiny. Some have spoken themselves into poverty, while others have spoken themselves into abundance. Some have declared sickness, and it came. Others have declared healing, and it appeared. What you continually speak is what you continually draw upon. That is why it is written that life and death are in the power of the tongue. Your words carry weight far greater than you realize. Now imagine if each word you spoke was instantly transformed into a financial check in your hand. Would you continue to speak words of lack, words of fear, words of worry? Or would you carefully and consciously write checks of abundance, peace, and joy? This is no fantasy. This is the truth of the spiritual law. Every declaration you make is being processed in the unseen realm, waiting to be released into your life. Many go through life speaking carelessly, saying, "I can't afford this," or "I'll never succeed," or "I'm always unlucky." Each time such a statement is made, a bankrupt check is written. These checks return void, they carry no value because heaven has no record of shortage or failure to endorse. Then people wonder why blessings do not manifest. Beloved, the answer is simple: the checks being written are insufficient, not because the account lacks funds, but because the words lack faith. But when you shift your words, everything shifts. Say, "I live in divine supply. I walk in favor. I am surrounded by opportunities." Those are living checks, signed in faith and endorsed by gratitude. Heaven sees them, honors them, and releases their value into your life. This is why it is not enough to silently believe. You must speak. You must declare. You must write the check with your tongue and release it into the spiritual system. Faith unspoken is faith unclaimed. A check never written will never be cashed. You may believe in your heart, but unless your mouth declares it, the transaction remains incomplete. The universe is moved by your words. Angels are dispatched at the sound of your declarations. Circumstances rearrange themselves at the command of your tongue. Words are checks that draw directly from the bank of God, and the amount is always unlimited. I say to you, begin to guard your speech. Refuse to write checks of fear. Refuse to sign your name to the lies of lack. Refuse to endorse despair. Begin to speak only that which you desire, that which is holy, that which is abundant. Say, "I am whole, I am wealthy, I am strong, I am loved, I am protected." These are golden checks signed in the ink of faith. The moment you release them, the moment you affirm them, the divine supply moves to manifest them. Perhaps you have spoken negative words in the past. Do not be afraid. Those bankrupt checks can be canceled. You can void them by speaking new words, words of faith and abundance. Say, "I cancel every negative word I have ever spoken. I declare new blessings over my life. I speak prosperity, I speak health, I speak peace, I speak divine success." Just as a check can be voided, so can negative affirmations be replaced by new declarations of life. Your life today is the sum of the checks you have been writing with your words. If you want to change your life, change your speech. If you want to draw new blessings, write new checks. Speak boldly, speak faithfully, speak consistently. Every morning when you rise, write spiritual checks with your mouth. Say, "Today, I deposit joy. Today, I withdraw abundance. Today, I cash the promises of peace." And then step into your day as though every one of those checks is already in your hand. Because spiritually, it already is. Consider how children write imaginary checks when playing store or bank. Though the paper is pretend, their imagination is alive. They play with full conviction. In the same way, speak your words with childlike faith. Do not worry about how, when, or through whom the blessing will come. Just write the check with your tongue and let heaven endorse it. Faith does not need explanation, it only needs expression. Every word you speak is heard in heaven. The angels record it and creation responds to it. So speak wisely, speak with authority. Speak as an heir, not as a beggar. Speak as one who knows the bank of God has no limits. Do not speak as though you are trying to convince heaven. Speak as though you already know heaven has agreed. You must also remember that gratitude strengthens the check. A check unsigned is invalid, and in the same way, a declaration without gratitude is incomplete. After you speak your word of faith, seal it with thanksgiving. Say, "Thank you, Father, that it is already done." Gratitude stamps your check with divine authority and releases it into manifestation. Even in times of testing, hold fast to your words. Do not cancel your check by reversing your speech. Some write a check of faith in the morning by saying, "I am prosperous," and then in the afternoon they cancel it by saying, "I am broke." Some say, "I am healed," but later declare, "I am sick." Beloved, do not sabotage your own account. Write your check and stand by it. Endorse it with gratitude and refuse to let doubt tear it apart. Words are not merely sounds. They are power, energy, vibration, creation. When you speak, you are writing in the unseen. The bank of God recognizes the language of faith and responds accordingly. There are no limits, no restrictions, no insufficient funds. Speak in alignment with truth and truth will manifest. If you desire healing, write a check with your words. Say, "I am whole, my body is strong, health flows through me." If you desire provision, write a check with your words. Say, "I am provided for. My needs are met. I live in abundance." If you desire peace, write a check with your words. Say, "I am calm. I am protected. My mind is clear." Every word is a check, and every check of faith is honored. The question is not whether heaven has supply. The question is whether you will write the check. The question is whether you will sign your name to words of faith or to words of fear. The choice is always yours. Life responds to your declarations. So from this day forward, let your words become treasures. Let your tongue write only checks of abundance. Refuse to let complaint, fear, or doubt come from your mouth. Speak blessings over yourself, over your family, over your work, over your future. Every check you write will return to you with interest. The bank of God not only honors your words, it multiplies them. Speak a little, receive much. Declare one blessing, and many blessings flow. Words are checks. Write boldly, sign with faith, endorse with gratitude, and watch as heaven's unlimited supply flows into every area of your life. The world around us is constantly shifting, filled with reports of economic uncertainty, rising prices, job instability, recessions, and financial struggles that seem to weigh heavily on the hearts of millions. News channels echo the same message of fear, scarcity, and lack, as though abundance has vanished from the earth. Many begin to believe that their future is tied to these reports, that their ability to thrive depends entirely on what men declare about the economy. But I am here to tell you a truth that will lift your spirit and restore your faith. Heaven is not affected by human economy. The divine storehouse does not close its doors because of inflation. The blessings of God are not limited by the rise and fall of markets. The supply of heaven is eternal, unlimited, and untouched by the fears and fluctuations of this earthly system. When you look at the world with only natural eyes, it is easy to believe that you are at the mercy of man-made systems. But when you open the eyes of faith, you begin to see a higher reality. You see a kingdom where abundance flows without measure, where wealth never diminishes, where health and peace overflow, and where your every need is already supplied. You must never forget that you are not bound by the rules of scarcity that govern human institutions. You are connected to a divine source that never runs dry. The bank of God is unlimited, and it does not operate according to Wall Street, governments, or financial reports. It operates on the law of faith, and faith is the currency that unlocks the riches of heaven. Think for a moment about the birds in the sky and the lilies of the field. They neither sow nor reap, they do not worry about storing away wealth, and yet they are clothed and fed daily by the hand of the Creator. If God provides for them, will He not provide even more abundantly for you, His beloved? If heaven's supply can sustain all of creation, surely it can sustain you in every season. No matter what the world says about shortage, the truth is, shortage exists only in human thought, not in divine reality. The universe is overflowing with supply, waiting for faith to draw it into manifestation. Do not allow fear to dictate your belief. The world may tell you there is recession, but in God there is only progression. The world may say opportunities are shrinking, but in God opportunities multiply. The world may cry out about inflation, but in God's kingdom value never diminishes. What you must understand is that faith creates its own economy. When you believe, affirm, and claim, you step into the heavenly treasury where there is no lack. Heaven does not run on the currency of dollars or coins. It runs on the currency of trust, gratitude, and unwavering confidence in God's promises. Consider those who prosper in times when the world says prosperity is impossible. Look at those who find opportunity when others see only closed doors. These are people who understand, whether consciously or unconsciously, that divine supply is not chained to human limitation. They refuse to let fear starve their imagination. They dare to believe that abundance flows to them no matter what the headlines say. And because they believe, they receive. Their lives become testimonies that heaven's economy is separate from man's economy. You must not only hear this truth but live it daily. Stop rehearsing the language of lack. Every time you say, "I cannot afford this," you are writing a check of doubt, and that check always returns void. Instead, begin to affirm, "My supply comes from God, and His storehouse is never empty." When you say, "I lack nothing because heaven is my source," you align yourself with divine truth, and that alignment draws blessings into your life. Remember, your words carry the power of creation. Speak lack, and you create lack. Speak abundance, and you create abundance. This is why gratitude is so important. Gratitude is not simply saying thank you for what you already see. It is saying thank you in advance for what you know is already on its way from heaven's treasury. Gratitude seals your transaction of faith. It marks your claim in the divine economy. When you wake up and give thanks that your needs are already supplied, you are making a withdrawal from God's bank. When you walk through your day with the confidence that provision is chasing after you, you are living as a child of abundance. There is no crisis in heaven. Do you believe this? There are no budget cuts in heaven, no layoffs, no inflation, no recessions, no shortages of resources. Heaven overflows with infinite blessings, and the moment you believe, you open the door for that overflow to manifest in your life. The key is not in waiting for circumstances to change. The key is in changing your perspective to align with divine truth. Let us go deeper into this truth. Every person who walks the earth is an heir to divine supply, yet not everyone receives it. Why? Because not everyone claims it. Just as a child of wealthy parents might live in lack if they never claim their inheritance, so too can you live beneath your blessing if you do not activate it by faith. Faith is the signature on your spiritual check. Without faith, it cannot be honored. With faith, it must be fulfilled. Perhaps you have been looking at your bank account, your job, your business, and thinking, "How will I survive this season? How will I pay my bills? How will I achieve my dreams? I tell you this: stop looking at man's economy and lift your eyes to heaven's supply. Say to yourself, my source is not my job, my source is God. My supply is not my paycheck, my supply is divine. My blessings are not tied to what man gives me, they are tied to what God has already prepared for me. When you speak this truth, you cut the cords of fear and bind yourself to the abundance of heaven. Think of the widow who had only a little oil in her jar. To the human eye it looked like nothing, insufficient to meet her need. But in God's economy, that little oil became an endless supply. Think of the 5 loaves and 2 fish that fed thousands. To human logic, it was not enough. But to divine supply, it was more than enough. You see, God does not need much to create abundance. He needs only your faith. Your little, when surrendered in trust, becomes multiplied in heaven's hands. So when you feel that resources are shrinking, do not despair. That is the moment to remember that heaven's storehouse has no limit. Instead of saying, I cannot make it, declare, heaven supplies all my needs in overflowing measure. Instead of saying, the economy is bad, affirm, the economy of heaven is perfect, and I am connected to it now. These declarations shift your vibration, align your energy, and release the flow of blessings that were waiting for your faith to unlock them. You must also learn to act as if it is already yours. Do not wait to see abundance before you live abundantly in your spirit. Live with joy, with generosity, with gratitude, as if the vaults of heaven have already opened for you. Because in truth, they already have. When you carry yourself with the dignity of one who is richly supplied, the outer world begins to mirror that inner reality. Your confidence becomes a magnet. Your faith becomes a channel. Heaven is not affected by human economy. This means that while others fear tomorrow, you can rejoice today. While others struggle under the weight of worry, you can walk in peace, knowing that your future is already secure. While others chase after supply, you rest in the knowledge that supply is chasing after you. This is the freedom of divine living, the freedom of faith, the freedom of those who know their source is unlimited. So I urge you, stop measuring your life by human systems. Stop lowering your vision to match the fear of the world. Lift your eyes higher, for your help does not come from man, it comes from heaven. Walk boldly into the divine treasury. Make your withdrawal by faith. Live in gratitude for blessings already flowing. And most of all, remember this eternal truth: the bank of God is unlimited, and heaven's economy is untouched by the world's fear. The day you fully believe this, your life will change. The day you live in this truth, doors will open, opportunities will multiply, and peace will flood your soul. Because the law is unbreakable: what you believe, you will receive. Heaven is not affected by human economy, and as a child of heaven, neither are you. When you truly understand the infinite nature of God's supply, you begin to see life through a new lens. The ordinary world with its limitations, struggles, and shortages begins to fade in comparison to the abundance of heaven. The greatest secret you can ever unlock in your spiritual journey is this: you are already supplied. The blessings you seek, the prosperity you desire, the peace you long for, and the opportunities you imagine are not far away, not delayed, not hidden. They are already present in the unseen realm, waiting for you to align with them by faith. To live as if already supplied is to step into the consciousness that everything you need has been provided before you even ask. Most people go through life begging for scraps from the world, believing that money, success, or happiness is something they must chase and earn with endless toil. They say, if only I had this job, if only I could get that promotion, if only someone would open a door for me. But this mindset is rooted in lack, in the belief that life owes them something still unpaid. To live as if already supplied is to flip this belief upside down. It is to stand tall and say, I already have what I need. The supply is mine now. The manifestation may still be unfolding, but in the spirit, the check has already cleared. Think of a farmer who plants seeds in the soil. The moment he plants, he does not run back daily in panic, asking, where is my harvest? Why hasn't it come yet? No, he waters, he waits, and he lives in confidence that the harvest is on its way. He may not see the stalks breaking through the ground, but he knows they are growing. In the same way, when you affirm by faith that God is your unlimited supply, you no longer question or doubt whether your needs will be met. You live as if already supplied because you trust that the invisible is more real than the visible, and that the unseen blessings are already sprouting into form. To live in this consciousness requires discipline of thought and word. You cannot say one moment, God is my source, I am richly supplied, and the next moment complain, I don't have enough, nothing ever works out for me. Such contradictions cancel out your faith. Every word you speak is a check you write to the bank of God. When you speak words of lack, you write checks that cannot be honored. When you speak words of faith, you activate deposits that were already placed in your account by divine law. Living as if already supplied means acting as though the provision is here now. If you are seeking prosperity, walk with the posture of someone who is prosperous. Do not slump in despair. Do not carry the energy of poverty. Do not constantly talk about what you lack. Instead, speak, dress, and carry yourself as one who already has abundance flowing through their life. This does not mean reckless spending or pretending in vanity. It means embodying the energy of confidence, gratitude, and assurance that God's wealth is already yours. There is a deep spiritual law at work. The universe mirrors what you hold within. If you hold lack, life reflects lack. If you hold supply, life reflects supply. Living as if already supplied places you in perfect alignment with heaven's abundance, and by the unbreakable law of belief, the outer world must conform to your inner conviction. Think about it. When you place an order in a restaurant, you do not keep shouting to the waiter every 5 seconds, "Don't forget my food, don't forget my food, is it coming, are you sure?" You place the order, and then you wait in trust, knowing the kitchen is preparing it. You live as if it's already supplied, and you carry on in peace until the meal arrives. If you can trust earthly kitchens with your order, how much more should you trust the divine kitchen of heaven, which never fails, never forgets, and never runs out of ingredients? Many people make the mistake of living in constant fear of, what if? What if the money doesn't come? What if the opportunity falls through? What if I never succeed? But living as if already supplied silences the, what if, with, it is so. You no longer live in the tension of uncertainty. You no longer beg heaven to send what you think you don't have. Instead, you rest in the assurance that it is already done. Fear says maybe. Faith says now. Fear says one day. Faith says already. To embody this truth, you must cultivate gratitude. Gratitude is not only a reaction to blessings received, it is the key that draws them forth. When you give thanks for blessings before they appear, you are living as if already supplied. You are saying, "Thank you, God, for the prosperity I know is mine. Thank you for the healing already flowing through my body. Thank you for the doors of opportunity already open." Such thanksgiving is not blind, it is prophetic. It calls the invisible into the visible, because gratitude affirms that the supply exists and is already yours. Consider the child who knows their parents' love. They do not fear whether food will be on the table, whether clothes will be in the closet, whether care will be given. They live in carefree joy because they know their parent has already made provision. In the same way, when you live as if already supplied, you rest in the Father's love, knowing that every need is already met before you ask. It is not arrogance, it is trust. It is not fantasy, it is faith. Some will say, "But look at my circumstances. I don't see supply. I don't see blessings." But understand this: the outer world is always a shadow of the inner world. It is a mirror, often reflecting yesterday's thoughts. What you believe today will show up tomorrow. If you wait until you see supply to believe it, you will always be chasing. You must believe first, live as if already supplied first, and then the outer reflection must align. The seed comes before the harvest, the word before the manifestation, the belief before the reality. This is why your words are sacred. Every time you declare, "I am rich in God's abundance, I am healthy, I am at peace, I am divinely guided," you deposit seeds into the soil of spirit. They must bear fruit. But if you speak lack, doubt, and fear, you plant weeds that choke out your harvest. Living as if already supplied is the daily practice of guarding your words, guarding your thoughts, and keeping them aligned with divine truth. And what is divine truth? That you are an heir to an infinite inheritance. You are not a beggar scratching at the door of heaven. You are a child of the Most High, and all that belongs to God belongs also to you. The bank of God is unlimited, and your name is on the account. Live as if already supplied by withdrawing boldly, not with fear but with joy. Every blessing is already written in your name: prosperity, health, love, peace, opportunities, success. Your task is not to create them, but to claim them. When you wake each morning, instead of dreading the day with thoughts of what you lack, say with conviction, "Thank you, God, for this day. Thank you that my path is supplied. Thank you that divine opportunities are opening. Thank you that money flows to me freely. Thank you that every need is already met." Carry this energy into your work, into your relationships, into your challenges. Let your actions reflect your faith. Walk with the confidence of one already supplied. Make decisions from abundance, not fear. Show kindness as though you have more than enough to give. Live generously, because the well from which you draw never runs dry. The greatest mistake humanity makes is believing in shortage. The world tells you that resources are limited, that opportunities are scarce, that you must fight, claw, and compete to survive. But when you live as if already supplied, you step out of this illusion of scarcity. You recognize that God is not bound by human economics, that heaven's riches are not measured in currency, and that opportunities are as infinite as the Creator himself. One door closing means nothing when infinite doors stand open. One lost opportunity means nothing when supply is unending. You cannot miss what is yours, for what is truly yours is already supplied. The mind that is fixed on lack cannot see opportunity even when it stands before it. But the mind that lives as if already supplied sees blessings everywhere. To that mind, even the smallest seed is evidence of infinite harvest. Even the smallest breakthrough is proof of unstoppable abundance. Faith opens your eyes to the signs of supply already at work, and gratitude magnifies them until they overflow. So I tell you today, live as if already supplied. Do not wait until the check arrives, until the healing manifests, until the dream unfolds. Live now in the energy of already having it. Speak now as if it is already yours. Act now as if God has already answered. For in truth, the answer has already been given. The supply has already been deposited. The blessing has already been released. Faith is not waiting, it is receiving. Faith is not hoping, it is knowing. Faith is not someday, it is today. And when you live this way, life transforms. You will no longer be tossed by doubt, no longer live in fear of tomorrow, no longer be chained by appearances. You will stand in the certainty that the unseen is more powerful than the seen, and that the God who created you has already provided for every step of your journey. Live as if already supplied, for in the eyes of heaven you already are. Faith opens the vault. These words carry a truth so profound, so unshakable, that if you allow them to enter your heart, they can transform the way you live and the way you receive every blessing that belongs to you. Imagine for a moment a vast treasury, a vault beyond imagination, overflowing with every good thing: wealth, peace, health, love, success, joy, opportunities, and miracles waiting to be claimed. This treasury belongs to God, and it is never locked to those who know the key. That key is not effort, it is not toil, it is not luck, and it is not struggle. The only key that opens the vault of heaven is faith. Faith is not a vague hope. Faith is not a timid wish. Faith is not half belief spoken with hesitation. Faith is certainty, conviction, an unshakable assurance that what is unseen is more real than what is seen. Faith declares that the vault is open before the handle is turned. Faith claims the blessing before the evidence appears. Faith knows that the invisible supply is greater than any visible lack. So many live as though the vault of God's blessings is locked against them, as though the riches of heaven are hidden and reserved for someone else more worthy, more perfect, or more holy. Yet this is not the truth. The vault is not locked, it has always been open. What makes it seem locked is doubt. What makes it seem closed is fear. What makes it seem unreachable is the false belief that you must beg for what is already yours. But when you walk in faith, the vault swings wide, and blessings pour out in ways you could never manufacture by human effort alone. Consider the way faith works. Faith does not ask, "Will God do it?" Faith affirms, "It is already done." Faith does not question the supply, it recognizes that supply is endless and present now. Faith does not measure God's resources by human economy or by the limitations of the world. Faith sees abundance where others see scarcity. Faith speaks increase when others speak lack. Faith stands tall when others bend under fear. It is this kind of faith that turns the key and opens the vault. Think of how many times in your own life you allowed doubt to become the lock on your blessings. You prayed, but you still worried. You affirmed, but you still wondered if it would really happen. You desired, but you continued to confess lack with your words. That is not faith, that is double-mindedness. And double-mindedness cannot open the vault. The vault responds only to the steady, unwavering key of faith. When you believe and do not doubt, when you affirm and stand firm, when you declare with full conviction, the vault responds instantly and without resistance. Faith is not concerned with how. Faith is concerned only with who. The bank of God is unlimited, and He is the source of every supply. Faith knows this and rests in this truth. When you walk into an earthly bank to withdraw funds, you do not beg the banker. You do not ask if perhaps they might be kind enough to give you a little of what is already yours. No, you walk with confidence, you sign your name, and you withdraw what you need because it already belongs to you. In the same way, when you approach the vault of God, faith is your signature. Faith is your proof of identity. Faith is your assurance that you are a rightful heir to the blessings stored within. Understand this: the vault of heaven is not filled with empty promises. It is overflowing with real substance, waiting for you to call it forth. Every prayer, every affirmation, every spoken word of faith is like writing a check against your divine inheritance. Some people write checks of faith boldly with confidence, and they see their blessings appear. Others write checks of doubt, filled with fear, and they wonder why nothing comes. A check without faith is like a check without funds. It cannot be honored. But a check written in faith, even when the evidence is unseen, is always fulfilled because the vault of heaven never runs dry. Faith must be exercised not only in words but also in actions. It is not enough to say, "I believe," and yet walk as though you are still in lack. If you truly believe that the vault is open, then live as though the supply is already in your hand. Speak as though the answer has already manifested. Rejoice as though the blessing has already been delivered. Gratitude is the natural companion of faith. Gratitude is the song you sing while the blessing makes its way into the visible. Gratitude says, "I already know it is done." And when gratitude and faith work together, the vault cannot remain shut. Think of a person who needs healing. If they continually speak of their sickness, complain of their pain, and declare their weakness, they are writing checks of doubt. The vault cannot respond to that. But if they begin to speak life, if they affirm daily, I am whole, I am strong, I am renewed, even before their body shows the evidence, they are using faith to open the vault. Soon, healing flows, restoration comes, and the body aligns with the truth that has already been declared. Faith brings the invisible into the visible. Consider the one who desires financial abundance. If they continually say, I can't afford this, I never have enough, money is hard to come by, they are declaring bankruptcy in their spiritual account. The vault cannot pour out blessings into such words. But if they begin to affirm, God is my supply, money flows to me freely, I am always provided for, they are turning the key of faith. The vault opens, opportunities appear, provision flows, and abundance manifests. Faith is not passive, it is active. It speaks, it claims, it rejoices, and it receives. The vault of heaven does not operate by human time. Faith understands this. Faith does not get discouraged when the blessing is not visible in a day, a week, or even a month. Faith knows that in the invisible realm, the blessing is already released the moment it is claimed. Faith waits with joy, not with frustration. Faith does not keep checking to see if the door is open. It knows the vault is open and walks forward, as though the supply is already in hand. Your faith is the key, but your words are the handle. You must speak faith daily. Speak it in the morning, speak it at night, speak it in the face of doubt, speak it in the presence of fear. Say, the vault of heaven is open to me now. I withdraw blessings of health, wealth, peace, and joy. I am divinely supplied in every area of life. These words turn the handle on the vault and release what has been stored for you. Do not underestimate the power of your words. They are spiritual checks. Write them wisely. Write them in faith. Remember also that the vault is unlimited. Do not shrink your requests. Do not ask for crumbs when the table is overflowing. Do not limit God by small expectations. The vault is infinite, and your inheritance is immeasurable. Ask largely. Believe boldly. Claim generously. Faith does not apologize for asking big. Faith knows that nothing is too great for the source of all supply. Whether it is healing for a small ache or restoration for a broken body, whether it is provision for a small bill or abundance for generations, the vault is equally able to provide. Faith is not pride. Faith is humility. It is the humility to admit that you cannot supply yourself, that only God is the source, and that His ways are higher than yours. It is pride to think you must struggle, toil, and worry as if everything depends on you. Faith lays down that burden and trusts completely in divine supply. When you walk in this humility, you walk in true strength, and that strength opens the vault. Beloved, never forget that the vault is not hidden from you. It was prepared for you. Every blessing, every provision, every miracle, every opportunity was written into your account before you were born. All that is required is the key of faith. Open the vault. Walk in confidence. Claim your inheritance. Do not live like a beggar outside the door of a vault that already belongs to you. Step inside, take what is yours, and live in the fullness of God's abundance. Faith opens the vault, and when the vault is open, no man, no system, no circumstance can close it. The blessings that pour out are unstoppable. The supply that flows is unending, and the life that results is a life of abundance, peace, and overflowing joy. Walk in that faith, live in that truth, and know beyond all doubt that the vault of heaven is open to you, now and forever. The bank of God is not limited to one form of blessing, nor does it restrict itself to a narrow definition of abundance. When we speak of blessings, many minds run first to money, wealth, and material possessions. And yes, financial increase is one expression of divine supply, but to limit God to only the material realm is to close your eyes to the vastness of heaven's generosity. Blessings are multi-dimensional. They reach into every aspect of life, weaving a pattern of wholeness, peace, joy, provision, and purpose. To claim your blessing by faith is to open yourself to the full spectrum of divine riches that are available to you now. Think about it. A man may hold millions in the bank, yet if his body is racked with sickness, his nights are restless with fear, and his relationships are broken, can he truly be called rich? Another may live in modest surroundings, but wake each morning with vibrant health, a heart full of love, and a mind at peace, and such a one is often richer in truth than kings. True blessing is not a single coin, it is the entire treasure chest. It is the sum of health, love, peace, purpose, opportunity, financial prosperity, spiritual growth, and inner joy. To limit your faith to only one form of blessing is to cash a single check, when the vault holds endless riches with your name on them. The bank of God recognizes no shortage. It is a storehouse overflowing with every good and perfect gift, and those gifts manifest according to your faith. Some come as strength in your body, healing when the doctors say it is impossible, restoration when the world says it is over. Some come as peace in your heart, calm in the middle of storms, and a stillness that no chaos can disturb. Others arrive as unexpected opportunities, doors opening that no man can shut, connections that align you with destiny, and favor that makes the impossible possible. And yes, blessings flow as money too, sometimes in sudden breakthroughs, sometimes through steady increase, but always in perfect timing, for the bank of God does not delay nor deny when faith has signed the request. But to understand blessings as multi-dimensional, you must release the belief that wealth is only what the eye can see or the hand can hold. The unseen blessings are often the greatest. The mind at peace is richer than the man at war with himself. The body in health is wealth beyond measure, for what use is gold if pain chains you to your bed? The gift of love, true companionship, loyal friendships, the warmth of family, the laughter of children, these are treasures beyond price. Wisdom is a blessing, for it guides your steps in prosperity and shields you from costly mistakes. Protection is a blessing, for unseen dangers pass you by because divine hands guard your way. Faith itself is a blessing, for it empowers you to withdraw from the infinite vault of heaven without hesitation. And yet, many forget this truth. They pray for one thing while overlooking the vast richness already in their possession. They ask for money while ignoring health. They seek material gain while neglecting peace. They chase possessions but overlook love. This is like withdrawing coins while leaving diamonds behind. The bank of God does not force you to claim more. It offers, but it is faith that writes the request. When you understand that blessings are multidimensional, you begin to ask for the fullness of life, not only fragments. You say, I am supplied in health, I am supplied in peace, I am supplied in joy, I am supplied in love, I am supplied in finances, I am supplied in purpose, I am supplied in every area of my being. And as you affirm this truth, heaven confirms it, and your life begins to mirror it. Do not think small when you approach the infinite. A river does not trickle because it fears running dry, it flows freely because it knows its source. The bank of God is an ocean without shore. Your faith cannot bankrupt it, your requests cannot deplete it. Ask for health and wealth, peace and purpose, wisdom and strength, and you will not be denied. For divine supply does not come in parts, it comes in fullness, and it overflows into every dimension of life. But there is a law to this abundance. You must believe that it is already yours. You must live as though the transaction has already cleared, as though the blessing is already deposited in your account. Just as a man who writes a check does not doubt his bank's ability to honor it, you must not doubt the bank of God. Faith is the signature on your request, and gratitude is the confirmation slip. Say, thank you, Lord, that my health is strong, my peace is deep, my finances are abundant, my relationships are blessed, and my path is guided. Even before you see it, claim it. Even before you hold it, rejoice in it. This is the law that activates the unseen into the seen. Understand this truth. When you receive blessings in one dimension, they often spill into another. For example, peace of mind often brings healing to the body. Love in relationships often attracts financial growth. Wisdom in choices often opens doors to prosperity. These blessings are connected, woven together like threads in a divine tapestry. To strengthen one dimension is to strengthen them all, and to neglect one is to weaken the whole. That is why your prayer, your affirmation, your faith must be for wholeness, not for fragments. Blessings are not only for today, they are generational. When you claim health, you influence the health of your children. When you claim prosperity, you break chains of poverty that would have passed on. When you claim peace, you plant seeds of harmony in your home that echo for years to come. The bank of God does not give only for the moment, it gives for eternity. The supply you receive today can ripple through generations, blessing those you may never meet. This is why it is so important to think big, to believe wide, to expect not only enough for yourself, but an overflow that touches lives beyond your own. And here is the beauty of it: when you withdraw from God's bank, you do not diminish its storehouse. If 1,000 souls receive healing today, the vault of health is not reduced by 1 ounce. If millions receive financial blessings, the treasury is not a coin lighter. If countless hearts receive peace, the supply of divine calm is not diminished. For this bank is not of earth, it is of heaven, and heaven is endless. This is why your faith must be bold. There is no such thing as asking too much. You cannot overdraft an account that was never limited to begin with. Many live in quiet poverty, not because the supply is gone, but because they never claimed it. They live with worry instead of peace, sickness instead of health, fear instead of confidence, lack instead of abundance, because they never wrote the check of faith. They speak words of doubt, words of limitation, and those words return void. Remember, your words are spiritual checks. When you say, I am broke, I am sick, I am unlucky, I am weak, you are writing checks against an empty account of limitation. But when you say, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am blessed, I am strong, I am guided, I am loved, you are writing checks on the bank of God, and those checks are always honored. Blessings are multidimensional, and so must your affirmations be. Do not only speak for money, speak for peace. Do not only speak for peace, speak for health. Do not only speak for health, speak for love. Claim the totality of blessing, not the fragments. Say daily, the bank of God is my source, and I receive from it every dimension of blessing now. Then watch as your life becomes a testimony of divine richness in every area. And once you receive, remember this: to hoard blessings is to stop their flow. You are not only a receiver but also a channel. The bank of God pours into you so that you may pour into others. When peace overflows in your heart, spread it to those who are troubled. When abundance overflows in your hand, give to those in need. When wisdom overflows in your mind, teach those who seek guidance. The more you release, the more flows back to you, for the law of giving and receiving is eternal. The bank of God never rewards stinginess, it multiplies generosity. As you share, your account grows, and as you bless, you are blessed even more. So today, beloved, do not think of blessing as one-dimensional. Do not limit heaven's riches to coins and bills. Lift your vision higher. See blessing as health, as peace, as love, as opportunity, as protection, as joy, as wisdom, as strength, as financial overflow, as generational favor, as purpose fulfilled. Claim it boldly, affirm it daily, and live as though it is already yours. For it is, the vault is open, the supply is infinite, and the bank of God is waiting for your faith to make its withdrawal. You are not a beggar at the door of heaven. You are an heir to divine inheritance. Your account is full, your blessing is written, and your faith is the key. Walk in health, walk in peace, walk in love, walk in prosperity, walk in wisdom, walk in joy, walk in every dimension of blessing, for this is your rightful portion. Withdraw today with joy, and let gratitude be the song that seals your heart. For blessings are truly multi-dimensional, and they are yours now, forever, and always. The spiritual law of belief is unbreakable. It stands above time, above circumstance, above human limitation, and above every shifting condition of this world. Just as the sun rises and sets each day without fail, so does this divine law operate in the unseen realm, silently shaping the visible world according to the measure of faith within the heart of each person. You may not see it with your physical eyes, but it is working constantly, and it never falters. It is the engine that turns thought into reality, desire into manifestation, and faith into substance. From the very beginning of creation, this law was woven into the fabric of life. Just as the law of gravity governs the physical realm, the law of belief governs the spiritual realm. What you hold as true in your inner mind, what you affirm with conviction, what you feel in the depths of your soul, must eventually take form in your outer life. The spiritual law of belief does not ask whether you are worthy enough, rich enough, or educated enough. It simply mirrors your faith. If you believe in lack, it faithfully produces lack. If you believe in abundance, it faithfully produces abundance. If you believe in healing, it faithfully produces wholeness. The law does not discriminate, it only reflects. The tragedy for many is that they do not understand the power already at work in them. They think belief is a small thing, something private, something with little weight. Yet belief is the very architect of destiny. It designs the blueprint of your life and directs the invisible workers of the universe to construct it. When you declare with unwavering trust, I am provided for, I am guided, I am blessed, the spiritual law of belief takes those declarations and plants them like seeds in the fertile soil of the unseen, bringing forth harvest in due season. The soil never questions the seed, it only reproduces it. Likewise, the law never questions your belief, it only reproduces it. This is why faith must be cultivated carefully. You cannot afford to scatter weeds and expect roses. You cannot affirm defeat and expect victory. The law is too perfect to be broken, too faithful to be tricked. It cannot yield joy if you plant sorrow. It cannot yield success if you plant failure. It cannot yield love if you plant fear. It simply returns to you the fruit of your belief, whether positive or negative. This is not punishment, this is precision. The spiritual law of belief does not punish, nor does it reward, it simply fulfills. Beloved, this is the good news when you recognize that this law is unbreakable. You also recognize that you can align yourself with it deliberately. You can choose your beliefs as carefully as a farmer chooses the seeds he will plant. You can cast aside old patterns of doubt, poverty thinking, and fear-based expectation, and instead choose to believe in the overflowing abundance of God's unlimited bank. You can decide today to affirm wealth instead of lack, peace instead of chaos, and healing instead of pain. The law will obey your choice because belief is the command it cannot ignore. Let us consider for a moment the mighty oak tree. It begins as a tiny acorn, buried in darkness beneath the soil. Yet within that acorn lies the belief of greatness. The acorn does not question if it will become an oak. It does not doubt whether the sun will shine or the rain will fall. It simply surrenders to the law, and in time, the unseen forces of life push it upward, crack open its shell, and stretch it toward the heavens. Your life works the same way. The seed of belief you carry, no matter how small, contains the code of your destiny. If you protect it, nurture it, and refuse to uproot it with doubt, it must rise. The spiritual law of belief will not fail. When you understand this, fear loses its grip on you. Worry no longer controls you because you realize worry itself is misplaced belief. To worry is to believe in loss, to believe in shortage, to believe in harm. And because the law is unbreakable, prolonged worry begins to draw those very conditions into your life. But when you replace worry with faith, when you affirm, I am safe, I am supplied, I am secure in the hands of God, then the law shifts and draws to you safety, supply, and security. Every thought backed by belief carries weight in the unseen world. This is why you must guard your mind as carefully as a king guards his treasury. Some may ask, but what of delays? What of the times I believe and do not see results immediately? Understand this, delay does not mean denial. The farmer does not plant a seed and demand a harvest the next morning. He knows the law of growth requires patience. The spiritual law of belief also has its appointed seasons. What you plant today may sprout tomorrow, or in a week, or in a year. But if you keep your faith alive, if you continue to water your belief with affirmations and gratitude, the harvest must come. The law is unbreakable. The key is persistence. Too many abandon their faith too soon. They plant a seed of belief, then dig it up in doubt. They affirm abundance one day, then speak poverty the next. They declare healing one moment, then rehearse sickness the next. They expect the law to produce a stable harvest while constantly changing the seed. This cannot be. The law is precise. It only amplifies what you sustain in belief. If you want a tree to grow, you must let the seed stay in the soil. If you want your blessings to manifest, you must let your faith remain unshaken. Belief is not mere wishing. Belief is not weak hope. Belief is an inner knowing, a settled conviction that what you desire is already granted. It is confidence without evidence, trust without proof, assurance without physical sight. And when you hold this kind of belief, heaven itself moves to fulfill it. The law responds not to empty words but to inner certainty. You may say 1,000 prayers with doubt in your heart, and little will happen. But one word spoken with unwavering belief can shift mountains, part seas, and open doors no man can shut. Think of the countless stories where belief alone changed the course of history. The sick were healed not by medicine alone, but by the power of their faith. The poor rose to prosperity not by circumstance alone, but by the conviction that they were destined for more. The hopeless found purpose not by accident, but by daring to believe in a greater calling. These stories are not miracles in the sense of breaking natural law, they are the natural results of the unbreakable spiritual law of belief. This law also reveals why self-image is so vital. What you believe about yourself sets the boundaries of your experience. If you see yourself as unworthy, the law reflects it and life denies you. If you see yourself as favored, chosen, and richly blessed, the law reflects it and life affirms you. This is why you must declare daily who you truly are, a child of God, an heir of abundance, a vessel of divine power. The world may try to tell you otherwise, but the law responds to your belief, not to the world's opinion. Gratitude plays a powerful role in this process. Gratitude is belief in action. When you give thanks for blessings before they appear, you demonstrate to the law that your belief is real. You no longer wait to see before you trust and then you see. Gratitude unlocks doors because it proves that your belief is not fragile. You are so convinced of God's supply that you celebrate it in advance. The law cannot resist such certainty. It must bring forth the manifestation. Beloved, the spiritual law of belief is not a mystery reserved for saints and prophets. It is alive in you right now. Every word you speak, every thought you hold, every expectation you carry, is a check drawn upon the infinite bank of God. When you affirm lack, you withdraw lack. When you affirm blessing, you withdraw blessing. The account never runs out, but it always pays according to the belief you present. The vaults of heaven are overflowing with health, wealth, peace, love, and opportunity, waiting for you to claim them. But the teller at the window only responds to one thing: faith. So, what will you believe today? Will you continue to affirm limitation, or will you rise in faith and affirm abundance? Will you let the shadows of doubt dictate your harvest, or will you let the light of belief draw heaven's riches into your life? The choice is yours, and the law will honor whichever you choose. But remember this truth: the spiritual law of belief is unbreakable. It cannot be bent, it cannot be bribed, it cannot be bypassed. It is eternal, impartial, and precise. Therefore, claim your blessings boldly. Write the checks of faith with confidence. Speak the words of abundance with conviction. Guard your mind against the seeds of doubt. Live as though you already hold the harvest in your hands. Walk with the quiet assurance that what you believe must come to pass. For the law is unbreakable, and heaven's supply is unlimited. Withdraw with joy, spend with gratitude, and trust without wavering. The bank of God is open to you now, its treasures waiting for your faith to release them. Believe and you shall receive. Stand firm and you shall see. The spiritual law of belief is unbreakable, and through it, your life can become the living testimony of divine abundance, divine health, and divine peace. You are an heir of unlimited inheritance. From the moment you came into this world, your Creator wrote your name into the divine record of abundance. You were not born to struggle endlessly, to wander in lack, or to live beneath the weight of limitation. You were born to inherit the infinite riches of heaven, to walk as a child of divine royalty, and to claim your rightful place in the endless supply that cannot be diminished. This inheritance is not written on fragile paper, it is inscribed in eternal law. It cannot be revoked, stolen, or withheld. It is already yours, waiting for you to step forward in faith and receive it. Think for a moment of an earthly heir. When a father leaves an inheritance to his child, the child does not question whether he is entitled to it. He does not beg for what has been legally secured in his name. He accepts it, he claims it, and he walks in the authority of ownership. Now lift your vision higher. If human fathers know how to leave an inheritance, how much greater is the inheritance of your heavenly source? Your inheritance is not limited to gold or silver. It is peace when storms rage. It is health when the body weakens. It is joy that cannot be taken away. It is opportunity that opens doors no man can shut. And yes, it is prosperity, the ability to meet every need, to overflow with supply, and to bless others abundantly. So many live as spiritual beggars, unaware of the treasure that belongs to them. They knock at heaven's door with uncertainty, hoping for crumbs when a banquet is spread before them. They say, maybe God will bless me one day. Maybe if I work hard enough or prove myself worthy, I will receive. But the truth is simple: you are already worthy, not because of your works, but because you were chosen. You are not a servant of lack, you are an heir of unlimited inheritance. The vault of heaven is already in your name. The only key you need is faith. Faith is not complicated. Faith is the quiet confidence that what is unseen is already true. Faith is signing your name on the check of divine supply and handing it to the bank of heaven, knowing it will never bounce. Faith does not worry about timing. Faith does not fear shortage. Faith knows that the inheritance is guaranteed and that every need has already been met before it even arose. The moment you align your thoughts, your words, and your actions with this truth, you step into your inheritance. Let go of the belief that you must earn what is already given. The child of a king does not earn his inheritance, he receives it simply because of who he is. You too must rise to the awareness of who you are. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are beloved. And because you are beloved, you are supplied. The inheritance is not something you strive for, it is something you awaken to. It is like a light switch in a dark room. The electricity is already present. The power has always been flowing. All you need is to flip the switch, and the room fills with light. Faith is that switch. Gratitude is the glow that fills the room once the light appears. You may say, but I see lack around me. I feel the weight of bills, sickness, and disappointment. How can I claim abundance when my reality says otherwise? Remember, this reality shifts the moment belief shifts. What you focus on expands. If you continually affirm lack, you write empty checks that return void. But if you affirm abundance, if you speak words of life and not limitation, the spiritual law begins to rearrange circumstances in your favor. Life is not about waiting for proof before you believe. It is about believing first, and then watching proof follow. Faith precedes manifestation. Consider a farmer. He plants seeds into the soil without doubt, knowing the earth will yield a harvest. He waters and waits, confident that the invisible process beneath the ground will bring visible fruit in time. That is faith in action. Your words, your affirmations, your prayers are seeds planted in the fertile soil of divine law. When you plant them in faith, when you water them with gratitude, and when you stand firm in expectation, the harvest must come. It is not a question of if, but when. Your inheritance will always manifest when claimed with unwavering faith. This inheritance is not limited by human economy. Do not measure it by the headlines of recession, inflation, or scarcity. The bank of God never collapses, never files bankruptcy, never withholds funds. While the world says there is not enough, heaven says there is more than enough. While people scramble to compete for limited resources, you stand under the fountain of limitless supply. Never allow the fear of the world to overshadow the promise of your inheritance. You are connected to a source that never fails. There will always be voices that say, you cannot. You are not worthy. It is not for you. These voices are echoes of doubt, illusions that seek to blind you to truth. Silence them with faith. Answer them with affirmations. Say boldly, I am an heir of divine inheritance. I receive my supply now. I walk in abundance, health, and joy. Speak it until your heart believes it. Believe it until your life reflects it. Your inheritance is not only for yourself, it is also for the blessing of others. When you walk in overflow, you become a channel of divine giving. The river does not hoard water, it lets it flow, and in doing so, it is continually refreshed. So too must you release blessings, share generously, give with joy. The more you pour out, the more heaven pours in. This is the cycle of inheritance: to receive and to give, to claim and to share, to overflow and to uplift. Do not wait until conditions seem perfect to claim your blessing. Claim it now. Walk in it now. Live as though it is already deposited into your account, because in truth it is. The unseen precedes the seen. What you affirm in faith today will appear in substance tomorrow. Do not delay. The inheritance is waiting for you to sign your name on it. When challenges arise, and beloved soul, I want you to imagine yourself standing before the greatest treasury in existence, a vault without walls, without locks, without limits, overflowing with blessings beyond what words can describe. This treasury is the bank of God, and it is open to you, right now in this very moment. Unlike the banks of men, it does not operate on earthly currency, it does not require collateral, and it never closes. It responds to only one thing: faith. Faith is your deposit slip, your withdrawal form, your golden key. And when you step forward with faith, the treasures of heaven are released into your life, flowing with grace and abundance. But here is the beauty: when you make a withdrawal from this infinite supply, you do not come with fear, doubt, or hesitation. You come with joy. You withdraw with joy, because you know that you are not depleting anything, you are simply aligning with what was already yours. Imagine walking into a bank where your account is filled with endless riches. Would you hesitate to take what you need? Would you doubt that the teller would honor your request? Of course not. You would step forward with confidence, knowing that what you are asking for is already secured in your account. In the same way, when you come to God's bank, you must withdraw with joy, with faith, with expectation that every need is already met. Joy is the signal that your faith is alive. When you declare, "I receive my blessing now," joy rises up within you, because your spirit already knows it is done. Joy is the evidence of answered prayer. The moment you rejoice, even before you see it with your physical eyes, you are proving to heaven and to yourself that you trust the process of divine manifestation. To withdraw with joy means to celebrate in advance, to laugh at impossibilities, to smile when the world says you should worry, and to sing when circumstances say you should cry. This is the kind of faith that moves mountains, that shifts realities, that unlocks the vaults of heaven. But what happens after you withdraw? What do you do when the blessings start flowing into your life? This is where the second part of the principle must be remembered: spend with gratitude. Gratitude is not just polite words. Gratitude is a spiritual force. Gratitude multiplies whatever you receive. Gratitude keeps the channel of supply open and flowing. When you spend with gratitude, you are not clinging tightly to what you have received in fear that it may run out. Instead, you are releasing it joyfully, acknowledging that the same God who supplied this blessing will supply the next one, and the next one after that, without end. So many people withdraw without joy and spend without gratitude, and then they wonder why their lives feel empty, why their blessings seem temporary, why their harvest dries up. If you withdraw in fear, you are doubting the supply. If you spend in complaint, you are closing the channel. But when you withdraw with joy and spend with gratitude, you live in a constant rhythm of abundance. You become like a river, always flowing, never stagnant, always supplied, never lacking. Think of gratitude as your divine receipt. When you receive a blessing and give thanks, you are acknowledging that the transaction is complete, that heaven has fulfilled its promise. Gratitude is also a seed. Every thank you give to God is a seed that guarantees a greater harvest in your future. Gratitude takes what seems small and multiplies it. Gratitude turns a loaf into a feast, a drop into a river, and an idea into a fortune. Gratitude magnetizes more blessings because it signals to the universe that you are a good steward of what has been entrusted to you. Withdraw with joy, spend with gratitude. That is the rhythm of a prosperous, blessed, and abundant life. When you practice this rhythm daily, lack and limitation cannot touch you. You may look around and see others worrying about scarcity, others fretting about bills, others chained by the fear of not enough. But you will stand apart. You will know that your account in the bank of God is never empty, that your faith secures every withdrawal, and that your gratitude guarantees continual deposits. Now let me remind you, withdrawing with joy does not mean you will always see the physical evidence immediately. Sometimes the blessing is released in the unseen first. Sometimes the answer is already traveling toward you, like a check mailed with your name on it. Do not despair if you do not see it instantly. Keep your joy alive, because joy is the proof that the transaction has already been made. If you wrote a check at your earthly bank, you would not worry about whether it will clear. You know the funds are there. In the same way, when you declare your faith and claim your blessing, you must know it is already secured in heaven's treasury. Your joy keeps you aligned until the manifestation appears. And when it does appear, oh beloved, do not forget gratitude. Gratitude should be your language every single day. Do not wait until something massive arrives to say thank you. Thank God for the breath in your lungs, for the food on your table, for the peace in your mind, for the opportunities that are opening even now. Every thank you builds your account stronger and draws more into your life. Gratitude is not only about receiving, it is about living in constant recognition that you are already blessed beyond measure. Gratitude turns ordinary days into miracles. Gratitude transforms what others overlook into treasure. When you spend with gratitude, you honor the source of your blessings. You say, I recognize that this came from God, and I use it with joy and respect. That is why complaining is so dangerous. Complaining is spiritual theft. It robs you of joy and it shuts down the flow. Every time you complain about money, you close the channel for more to flow. Every time you grumble about opportunities, you lock the vault. But every time you give thanks, you open the door wider, and more floods in. So, how do you live this truth daily? You begin each morning by acknowledging that the bank of God is open, that your account is full, and that you are free to withdraw what you need with joy. You affirm, I joyfully receive today all that belongs to me by divine right. You go about your day expecting blessings, watching for signs of answered prayer, and when they appear, whether big or small, you give thanks immediately. You live with an open hand, not a closed fist. You spend your time, your energy, your resources with a grateful heart, knowing that nothing you give out in love is ever lost. It always returns multiplied. Withdraw with joy and spend with gratitude. This is more than a principle. It is a lifestyle. It is a way of walking with God daily, a way of living in divine abundance without fear. It removes anxiety about the future, because you know the bank of God cannot run out. It removes jealousy, because you know everyone has the same access to this infinite account. It removes desperation, because you know your portion is secure. It fills your life with peace, because gratitude turns every situation into an opportunity for blessing. When you live this way, even your challenges become blessings. Even your trials become testimonies. Because you withdraw the strength you need with joy, and you spend your experiences with gratitude, knowing that every step is guiding you higher. Life stops being a burden and becomes a flow, an endless circulation of receiving and giving, of joy and gratitude, of faith and fulfillment. So today, I invite you to step boldly into the vaults of heaven. Do not stand at the door with hesitation. Do not whisper timidly. Declare boldly what you need, claim it with faith, and withdraw with joy. And when the blessings appear in your hands, in your home, in your heart, use them, enjoy them, share them, and above all, give thanks. For gratitude is what guarantees that the flow will never stop. The bank of God is unlimited, beloved. Your inheritance is secure. Your account will never run dry. Withdraw with joy, spend with gratitude, and live every day in the overflowing abundance of heaven.